Well, for the past several weeks, we've been talking with the pitmasters of the Carolina Barbecue Festival coming up April 4th and 5th in Charlotte. Today, we've got another pitmaster on the line, but today's guest isn't just feeding the masses at the barbecue festival. He's providing an essential lifeline of food and hope when people need it most. That's why today I'm excited to welcome Scott Jarrett to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. Scott's with Operation BBQ Relief. He's here to talk all about how that organization delivers the healing power of barbecue in times of need. Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Chigger, thank you very much. Just an honor to be on your show here, and I know I was a little busy when you hollered first, but we're hopefully let everybody know a little bit about what we do today.
Yes, sir, for sure. Thank you for taking some of that time to do that. And of course, Operation Barbecue Relief is one of the charities that Carolina Barbecue Festival supports every year. You can support the festival and Operation Barbecue Relief when you buy tickets today at carolinabbqfest.org. When you get your tickets and attend the festival, you'll get to enjoy the best barbecue bites cooked by more than a dozen pitmasters from across the Carolinas and beyond. Meet many of those guys and gals at our website, lowslowbbqshow.com. You just click on the episodes button, hear all of our pitmaster interviews. While you're there, visit and click on our newsletter, subscribe. We'll send you the latest Carolina barbecue news directly to your inbox on Tuesday mornings. That's Tuesday. Today, we're talking with Scott Jarrett, a pitmaster with Operation Barbecue Relief. So, Scott, before we get too deep into Operation Barbecue Relief, let's kind of get back at the beginning. Let's start there. How and when did Scott Jarrett start smoking meat low and slow?
Well, I guess I was interested in barbecue, eating it mostly at a young age. At a young age, and it showed. And I guess it was the early 2000s. We had neighborhood parties in our neighborhood, mainly a big 4th of July party. And a friend actually that I worked with at UPS, he lived in the neighborhood also. And we would do these parties, and we started cooking food, and then we thought we was pretty good, or at least we thought it was good, which I guess it was.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2004, they had the first barbecue contest in Hickory at the old Catawba Mall in 2004. So we entered that contest, not knowing what we were getting into, and actually I've been competing competition barbecue ever since then.
Yeah. Wow. That's fantastic. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about that competition piece first. What kind of things did you pick up along the way in that competition that maybe you'd utilize now in your volunteer role with Operation Barbecue Relief?
Well, it's just a different, we would do KCBS contest. That's mainly what we would do. And you have the 4 meats, you have chicken, ribs, pork, and brisket. So that gives me a little introduction to all, the different meats. At OBR, we don't always know what we're going to get, what we're going to be cooking at a disaster or an event, and it has really given me, the insight I had before, dealing with some of the items that we get, when we feed people in disasters in our other projects.
Yeah, I got you. So you got to be ready for a little bit of everything, which I guess kind of the competition experience of the variety of meats kind of helps you prepare for that. So we've talked about the Operation Barbecue Relief. After your years of competition, how did you get hooked up with OBR?
Well, I worked for UPS for 38 years, and when I decided to retire in 2016, I knew I wanted to give back. When I was with UPS the last 25 years, I was a supervisor, so I didn't have very much time to do anything. And I said, when I retire, I'm going to give back. And in May of 2016, I retired. And we used to do a barbecue contest every year in Hammond, Louisiana. And we became friends with a gentleman down there that is a police lieutenant for the Hammond PD. And in 2016, of August of 2016, they didn't have a hurricane, but they had a major flood event.
Mm.
And he had like 4 feet of water in his house. And OBR responded to that. And that was
Hmm.
my very first deployment. I knew the situation my friend was in.
Mm.
I knew we had to do something. So that was my first deployment. Spent a week down there. Learned a heck of a lot about feeding the masses, and and I've been with OBR since then.
Yeah, so that's 2016. So going on about 8 or 9 years now as we head into 2025. When you got started there, maybe walk us through OBR and how they bring on a new volunteer, whether they're a pit master or somebody that just wants to show up and help. If I'm somebody that wants to get involved, walk me through what that process looks like.
Okay, so if you would like to get involved with OBR, if you most people have a smartphone. If
Hmm.
you'll go to your smartphone in the App Store or Google Play, and you type in Operation BBQ Relief,
Hmm.
and it's going to pull up a app that says OBR Volunteers,
Mm.
and just download that app, and then you can register. It'll show you how to register on there. You just click the register button, and you go through the steps. There is an arbitration agreement that you have to sign.
Hmm.
Also, there is a background check, and we make everyone that volunteers with us has to have a background check. Now, let's
Hmm.
just say, for instance, there was a disaster today, and you wanted to go help, but you wasn't registered yet. As long as you started that process of the background check, you can actually come on site. And we
Mm.
did have some people like that during Helene.
Hmm.
That was it. But the best thing to do, even if you're interested, is just to go ahead and register, and you'll be done with it and have it all done. Now, if
Hmm.
you would happen to have a problem during the registration process, if you would just email volunteers at obr.org,
Hmm.
they will help you with any problems you have, or anytime that you'd have any questions or concerns. Volunteers at obr.org, and
Hmm.
they can help you through it. And once you get the app downloaded, if there is a disaster, they will be it'll be posted on the app, and there's where
Hmm.
you sign up at.
Hmm.
And also all of our events are loaded on the app, because in what we call blue sky days, when there's not a disaster,
Hmm.
we're doing always serving projects, and we could talk about that a little later.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I've signed up in the app. There's been a disaster in my community. I'm going out and I'm showing up. What can I expect? Do I need to be trained? What does that look like just as a hands-on volunteer?
Okay, so we have, you don't have to be a pit master. You don't
Uh-huh.
even We have people that you wouldn't believe it, but don't even like barbecue. that are
I just want
volun
to
that
help.
are that are volunteers. They
Yeah.
want to help. They
Uh-huh.
they saw our organization somewhere, and we have people from all walks of life, just any occupation that you could probably name.
Mm-hmm.
We have volunteers from from that occupation, or anything. And a lot of people, they just hear about us from, always asked, how did you hear about us? Well, some people, maybe my neighbor, maybe I know a barbecue pit master and he told me, and maybe I just went online and looked for a place to volunteer.
Mm-hmm. What
So
if I'm a
different
pit?
reasons.
Yeah. What if I'm a pit master though? Can I show up and just start cooking?
Well, okay, so you pit master, and we say, hey, we kind of feel people out. Well, how did well, I'm on a barbecue team. Okay,
Yeah.
so what do you know? And then we kind of get a feel of the different expertise of different people. but there's so many different jobs.
Mm.
Really on a large deployment like we had in Hendersonville for Helene.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small city.
Yeah.
It's we have bunk houses where the people can stay.
Mm.
A lot of times, of course, we have shower facilities and bathrooms, and because you're living there,
Mm-hmm.
I was in I was in the Walmart parking lot in Hendersonville for 30 days in October.
Wow.
So you got people and we had people there from I think it was over 10 states,
Mm-hmm.
all around the country. Some people bring their RVs if we have room, campers, and that's where they stay because a lot of times you in a disaster, motel rooms are not readily available.
Mm.
Very scarce a lot of times. May not have
Mm-hmm.
no power. Uh, we are self-sustained with our power. We get generators to run everything that we have because, you know, you may not, most times you don't have power where you're at, and
Mm-hmm.
not the type of power that we need to support
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Yeah, yeah. That kind of gives us an idea of what the on the ground operation looks like. And you've kind of touched on Hurricane Helene and some time spent in Western North Carolina. And folks in this part of the state are certainly familiar with what happened. But why don't you talk a little bit about what your role with Operation BBQ Relief is, and then some of the efforts that you guys did out in Hendersonville and what that looked like over, like you said, a 30-day and longer period, I believe.
Yes. Well, I'm an area coordinator, the North Carolina area coordinator for Operation BBQ Relief,
Mm-hmm.
and in Hendersonville, I actually on that Friday, if you remember, Helene came in and on Florida on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually headed to Tallahassee, Florida, with a set of double cookers, and I got down into South Carolina, almost to Georgia, and I got a call, and they actually turned me around because they
Mm.
said, "Hey, things are bad here in North Carolina. I think you need to turn around and come back." I actually did turn around and come back. I got home late on Saturday night, and then I ended up going to Augusta, Georgia. And people say, "Well, why would you went to Augusta, Georgia?" Well, I personally, being from Hickory, I didn't think there was much damage down there, but
Mm-hmm.
there was no power nowhere, no
Mm-hmm.
water. Actually went there for 2 days and then ended up in Hendersonville. And we set up on starting on that Tuesday the next week, and set up operations. And so mainly there, we provided meals to the Red Cross, which they were taking out in the fields to distribute.
Mm-hmm.
So they would set up at maybe a school or a church or different locations. Um, the thing where this Helene was very different as far as any disaster hurricane wise that we experienced. Number one, Western North Carolina never has experienced a disaster of
Mm-hmm.
this magnitude.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, if a hurricane comes in on Florida or Texas or Louisiana, where they do most of the time, it's just say 100-mile wide path, and it's kind of limited to that area.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in North Carolina, you had it from all the way from Chimney Rock to Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and widespread. And the thing about it, if you think back, the very first week there was limited communications uh, to that area that you couldn't get hold of. I tell you what, when I got to Hendersonville, somebody would call me, and I'd be standing right there in Walmart, and the phone would just go dead.
Mm.
So we actually have a Starlink, and we set up our Starlink, and after that point in time, we
Mhm.
had communications. But a lot of people don't think about communications as an important part of the because a lot of times when you have a disaster, the cell towers are out.
Yeah, right.
And there's where you get your information. And a lot of people don't realize that, your GPS runs off of those cell towers.
Mm-hmm.
If I was in Louisiana back a few years ago, and we had no satellite coverage. I mean, we had no cell coverage, and all the street signs were blowed down.
Wow.
So how do you know where you're at and
Yeah.
where you're going?
Right.
That was pretty challenging. That a lot of people don't realize that you're not going to be able to put in an address to Chigger's house and you arrive there, because it's no data there to get you there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a lot of instances. It was really spread out, in these small communities. Asheville, I guess, being the largest one, but up in the, Spruce Pine, Burnsville, Marion, it was all the way down to Morganton,
Mm-hmm.
and all points in between, all the way up to Waynesville. And I've never seen, I've been to a lot of different disasters, and I've never, I guess we have at OBR, I always say when you're gone maybe a week to a disaster, there's a moment that it hits you,
Mm-hmm.
some story, someone walks up or someone tells you a story and it just breaks your heart. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, really, of what some of these people went through. Um, and I'll be honest with you, it almost in Hendersonville, it almost happened every day.
Wow.
We had, we don't have time for all those stories at all because we'd be here all day.
Right.
But unfortunately, um, at OBR, we have a motto, and the motto is, the one hot meal that matters. You know, now we can produce thousands of meals. In Hendersonville, we 284,000 meals.
Wow.
So over a 250,000 meals that we served during those 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and but I can tell you the one hot meal that mattered uh, to that person, and you don't know, you know, what they might have lost, what they faced. It was just it was really unreal. But I'm glad that we and due to you know volunteers, uh, we can give that meal and hopefully make times a little bit better. The comfort food,
Mm-hmm.
barbecue's comfort food.
Yeah.
You feel good when you eat it. You get hold of a good rib and you say, man, that's good. That makes my belly feel great.
Yeah.
And, if we can provide that comfort meal, hopefully that will take these people's mind off of what they're facing. A lot of these people, they've lost everything they had,
Mm-hmm.
everything,
Yep.
so.
Yeah. Well, that's a great story and a great testimony. It really kind of delivers the impact for what Operation BBQ Relief is doing in providing that hot meal. And I know it's so important. Hurricane Helene over 30 days. I know you've been out west fighting fires, or maybe not fighting the fires, certainly, but you were providing relief in the fire zone too recently.
We deployed. Actually, we're still there, operating through a restaurant at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did get the I guess opportunity. Fortunate to go out there. I guess I got back about a week ago, and spent 10 days out there.
Mm-hmm.
After firsthand looking at it, I can see why it caught fire so fast. Everything
Yeah.
is so dry out there.
Mm-hmm.
I left on Saturday, and on Sunday they had the first measurable rain that they've had in 6 months. I mean, it's just bone dry, and
Yeah.
it's not no,
Tinderbox. Yeah.
yeah, it's not normally that dry. Uh, you've heard of the Santa Ana winds
Mm-hmm.
probably, and they pick up, and at night we're in several locations, but the firefighters and first responders has set up a base camp in Malibu, actually right off the Pacific Highway. And we actually teamed with the Guy Fieri Foundation. Guy does a lot of work through his foundation with first responders. And so we fed firefighters there at the base camp for a number of days until they actually shut that one down. And I've always said I wanted to go to the Rose Bowl. So I got a chance to go to the Rose Bowl in Pasadena.
Yeah.
Well, it was in the parking lot. It was in the parking lot, but that still counts.
You don't have to include that part. You were at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, that's right. So we set up there also after they shut Malibu down, and they had a bunch of first responders there. The Palisades fire, it was over near Malibu, and the Hearst fire was up near Pasadena. And we served food at they had like a drive-through where people could get supplies of different types, and we fed meals there daily, and they're actually still feeding meals there in Pasadena. And we have a program called Operation Restaurant Relief that we started during the pandemic to try to help some of these restaurants survive the pandemic when they wasn't working. And and we partner with them, and that's what we're doing right now in California. There's a restaurant out there that's that we're partnered with that's actually cooking the meals, and then we're giving them away there in the drive-through. But it was a little different out there than what we're normally used to.
In a hurricane response or a tornado or a storm like that. And we had Stan Hayes, the founder of Operation BBQ Relief, on the show last year ahead of the barbecue festival. And he shares some of the story and some of the motivation behind it. The storms that happened in Missouri right after the storms in Alabama, and just really kind of the foundation of Operation BBQ Relief. But as you kind of hinted at the top of the show, emergency response, whether you're providing food for victims or emergency responders, that's just one piece of the puzzle, right? So you mentioned always serving, and then I know Camp Operation BBQ Relief is another big growing part of that puzzle. So maybe take just a couple of moments to share what those things are about.
Okay, so I guess I'll say the Always Serving Project. That's on the blue sky days when we don't have disasters, and that's feeding first responders, veterans, and the fight on hunger. I actually live here in Hickory. And with the last several years, we have partnered with the Hickory Soup Kitchen at Thanksgiving to provide meals to some of the less fortunate around our area that maybe otherwise wouldn't have a Thanksgiving meal. So when we left in Hendersonville, we knew we wanted to continue to do things in Western North Carolina. So me and my regional director, Lewis Pratt, which he lives in North Carolina also, we decided to go back up to the mountains. So during Thanksgiving, we served about 3,500 meals up there when at the same time we were serving the ones at the soup kitchen. And right before Christmas, the week before Christmas, we went to Burnsville, and they had a toy giveaway for the kids and bikes in a middle school there in Burnsville. And we provided meals for them there and anybody that wanted them. And we're always doing, we've been to Fort Bragg numerous of times, feeding special forces down there and their families. I've been to Elizabeth City the last couple years at the Coast Guard station for Coast Guard Day, where they have a big event down there. And you mentioned Camp OBR. That is a camp out in the Ozarks in Missouri that we have, where we provide programs for Gold Star, Blue Star, and Red Star families and veterans and first responders and help them through maybe the healing process and things that we can do, to make it easier for them. Gives them time to bond and it gives them some rest and relaxation. And Stan has worked countlessly out there at the camp the last couple of years getting it. We built it from scratch basically, and it's got cabins and shower facilities and big kitchen, and we actually have a kitchen there where we can demonstrate and teach the participants how to do barbecue. So hey, get them interested, and we also have a test kitchen in Tampa, Florida, where we can do virtual, recordings of different meals and how to do barbecue. And it's we just try to reach out as many ways as we can. Stan, he was, you mentioned his start, Joplin, Missouri, 2011. Him and some other guys responded to a F5 tornado up there, and in 10 days, they fed like 110,000 people. Wow. And we just when we were in Hendersonville, we just passed our 12th millionth meal.
Yeah.
During that time. So it was an honor. I was there in Hammond, Louisiana when we had 1 million meals, and actually in Wilmington in 2018 we had our 2 millionth meal, and then it's grown since then.
Yeah, and a tremendous tribute to service for you and all the folks at Operation BBQ Relief, and folks out there listening. You can support this. Just visit operationbbqrelief.org. There's a donate button. You can donate, as Scott shared. Download the app on your phone. You can find out ways to volunteer and get involved, and just show up and help out in any way you can. And of course, another easy way is to visit the Carolina Barbecue Festival coming up April 4th and 5th in Charlotte. Buy tickets. A portion of the proceeds will go to the Operation BBQ Relief. Over the past 3 years, again, $35,000 has gone to charities like Operation BBQ Relief. So supporting the barbecue festival helps these guys do it too. But then, of course, nothing like making that direct donation to the organization, which you can do through their website. And kind of with that said, Scott, before we wrap it up, you've been through this for many years, 12 million meals or so, like give or take a million or so. And you've traveled all over the country. You've seen the pain, but you've seen the joy that people can get out of the food. I want to know, what keeps your fire burning? Why do you keep doing this year after year?
That's a good question. My wife would probably want to know that. But no, I just think that it's a great organization. I'll tell you what, the people that I've met through this organization, they become family. Barbecue people are family. I don't care. I've been competing a long time, and let me tell you, when it comes time for awards, hey, we're cheering for the other people,
right.
And it's just you just get you're doing something that you love to do, and you're helping somebody else. That a disaster, it don't discriminate. Rich, poor, black, white, yellow, it don't matter. It don't discriminate. It hits all, it hits everyone, when it hits. And I just feel like that, it's a good thing to helping people when they, they're having tough times, and but I will tell you one thing, talking about the Carolina Barbecue Festival. If you're listening to this and you're saying, hey, maybe I should buy tickets, and Chigger's, saying good things about it. Well, I've been there.
Yeah.
I was at the very first one they done.
Right.
I was there last year, and let me tell you, if you like barbecue, you need to go, because I'm telling you, the people, these restaurateurs, these pitmasters that's there, and Chigger they're the best. I mean, it's really good food. It was a beautiful, it was a beautiful event last year. I think it's the same place this year, right downtown Charlotte.
That's right.
Victory Yards, I believe, is the name of
Victoria.
it.
Yep.
Victoria Yards, and it's part of the Charlotte Shout Festival that lasts, I think, over a period of a couple of weeks.
Yep.
And if you miss out, that's just you're really missing out on some good barbecue. And it's not all. It's different types of barbecue. You know, it's not all 15 samples of pulled pork. Trust me, you'll enjoy it.
And that, my friends, is the lowdown and the last word from our man Scott Jarrett, area coordinator from Operation BBQ Relief for North Carolina. Scott, thank you so much for joining the Low and Slow Barbecue Show.
Thank you very much for having me.
You've been listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. If you like what you hear, give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast stream, share our podcast with your friends, or visit us on lowslowbbqshow.com. You can subscribe to the newsletter. Don't forget, we've got a YouTube channel. You can see Scott and I in person on the YouTube channel there. We've got all kinds of other video from the barbecue festival and podcast interviews. And hey, there's a smoker side interview with me and Scott cooking turkeys ahead of Thanksgiving outside of Hickory Soup Kitchen. Check it out at our YouTube channel. Thanks so much to our production team at the Mesh.tv network of podcasts, especially Andrew Moose, the man behind the monitors. Thanks again to our guest today, Scott Jarrett from Operation BBQ Relief. And most especially, thank you for listening. Remember, for the best barbecue and the best barbecue podcast, make it low and slow.